Hello, Emily Cave.
How are you? How's
I'm
that?
good. I'm really good. And you?
Good.
How is it go?
More, a lot warmer in Cali than Edmonton.
Yeah, I was going to ask, how is it in California? Because Edmonton was under another snowstorm. Boy.
I feel like Edmonton always has that one big spring snowstorm right before it finally gets better for you guys. But
Yeah,
I'm not gonna lie, the weather's been really nice here.
yeah. I'm a little bit jealous, to be honest, of your California weather. Yeah, I feel like Edmonton always has the last, like one last reminder that winter is hell. And it's like, oh, you guys thought spring was here? Wait a second.
Just kidding.
Just kidding. Yeah. Okay. So, welcome to Creativity with me, Emily. I don't really have a schedule for, not a plan for this conversation. I just wanted to talk to you because you are one of my favorite people and client slash friend now. But yeah, for the people who don't really know your story, can you just, explain who you are, what's your story, maybe how we met? Yeah.
Yeah, so my late husband was Colby Cave. He was an NHL forward. He played with the Boston Bruins and the Edmonton Oilers. And in April of 2020, so almost 5 years ago exactly, he passed away of an extremely rare non cancerous brain tumor called a colloid cyst. Unfortunately, it was during COVID, so that's a whole nother ballgame, but couldn't be there when he passed away. Said goodbye on FaceTime. COVID really delayed my grief. I feel like there were so many firsts, even like a year later, still with restrictions. Like his funeral was a year later, etc. But what I definitely have loved seeing the past 5 years is his legacy still continued. That's when someone passes away, especially your spouse, the last thing you want is for them to be forgotten. And I think it's really cool how, crazy to say, almost half a decade later, people are still talking about him and honoring him. But we have two memorial funds in his honor, one with the Bruins, one with the Oilers. So it's been such a bittersweet blessing helping
Hmm.
do that the past 5 years. I feel like we were never able to have kids of our own, but I always say, those kids through his memorial fund are like our kids. So that's a very, very small summary.
Yes.
But obviously, I met Emily through the power of social media and Instagram. She was following my journey when Colby was in the hospital. And then eventually, after he passed away, I moved back to Edmonton, where we ran into each other, ironically, on a rooftop of the building that I was living in, and connected up there. I just always appreciated her messages of checking in, even though she didn't know me personally at the time. And then it was kind of through that we established friendship. She's done all my shoots in the past 5 years, whether that was for the podcast or the book, or just capturing young widowhood and making me, I feel like, because it was such a public eye death, I had so many eyes on me. And I feel like Em did a really good job in capturing me in these moments, and also just helping me be more than just Colby's widow.
Hmm.
And kind of capturing me in these photos or videos of who Em is as a person, and not just who she is on social media or what the public eye um, perceives me. But that's a
Yeah.
very, 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 very short summary.
Yeah. Because a lot of things happen to you in such a short time. But I want to go back to being basically like, Colby's wife and anonymous, and then suddenly he passed away and becoming famous to be on on TV, in headlines, in like articles, like everyone is talking about you, because at the same time that you are losing Colby, you are also, there is also a pandemic, there is also all of those things around his death, and it's like a lot of not being able to like be at the hospital with them, like everything was so dramatic and was so intense. Can you go back to this time of like coming from being a nobody and suddenly being in the spotlight for very, very, for tragic reasons. So can you like go back to like explain how was that phase of your life?
It's such an interesting transition looking back. I feel like you said like Colby was always the one when he was playing that I would be like stopped and be like, "Oh, can you take a picture of me and him?" Like I was the one never in the photos. I was not in the limelight at all. And how it all kind of started, which kind of frustrates me, which I'm sure we can talk about later with
Hmm.
like all the hate that comes with being in the
Yep.
public eye. But when Colby was helicoptered to Sunnybrook for his brain surgery, the Oilers and the NHL had to make a statement. Being a public figure and something like this happens, you have to make a statement before the news or media or paparazzi get a hold of it. You have to stay above it all. And that was something that was so new to me.
Mm.
Colby was the first active NHL player to pass away, to my knowledge. So it was all new for everyone, and being 26 and having to like make these public statements but still be in shock. I was totally in over my head, I'm going to be honest. So when he was in brain surgery, my Instagram was always like, sometimes I had like no followers, like like other than like family and friends and like some fans that obviously had like invested in Colby. So I think I had like, I don't know, like 2,000, 3,000 followers. So like enough for sure,
Yeah.
but not like anything to what it is today.
Right.
And yeah, so I opened my Instagram and I was posting updates on my Instagram. I just felt like that was a way of we played with so many people over the years and fans and family and friends. I thought that was the best way to update them. That was literally my only
Yes.
like motive behind posting on social media. I was not thinking about gaining followers. I was not thinking about anything else. I was like, what is the easiest way because I'm so overwhelmed that I can get this out? So I had posted, my best friend's in brain surgery. This has been the worst night and
Hmm.
day of my life. We need prayers, etc. And it was that just went poof. Yeah, I think everyone had started following me from there and it just grew so rapidly. And then obviously 4 days later when Colby passed away, it was it was everywhere. It was in the headlines, like you said, but even the headlines in Europe, the headlines in North America, the headlines, it just went viral. It was People Magazine, Today's Show, New York Times, New York Post. And what I didn't realize is like they just take things off your socials.
Hmm.
Like, unless in some of those interviews you actually have me quoted, they're
Yeah.
just taking them. Like they're
Yeah.
just grabbing it. And so I think a lot of people were like, or can believe that it was like
Yes.
for attention, which like that just like blows my mind because as I'm sitting in this room all alone waiting to like hear
Yeah.
if my brother's like blah, blah, if my husband is gonna like live, my brain is not thinking like I'm gonna post these for followers. Like that is not what I was at. And, looking back, 99% of those followers have created such an amazing community and have been so kind. And I'm so grateful for the community that has been created through Instagram or TikTok or whatever it is.
Hmm.
But yeah, some of them definitely can be a little mean. But yeah, the thought process of going from just a normal person
Hmm.
to overnight for the worst possible reason, like you said,
Yes.
like I I didn't want it. Like I didn't want the
Hmm.
paparazzi outside my parents' house. I didn't want any of that. But I've definitely had to learn how to handle that all. I didn't think it would, and I mean now it has continued or like has slowed down, which comes with a lot more. I think in the beginning there was so much media and there's so much interviews and there was cameras, so it almost was adrenaline all the time. And I think now, obviously coming up to the 5-year mark, that has slowed down quite a bit, which
Hmm.
I think was another grief for me and myself, because then I'm like, wait, maybe the world is forgetting. Like it kind of just amplifies every single thing when you're under such an intense microscope. So yeah, I think that transition, I always say, I wish people knew M before. Like there's an M before that happened
Yeah.
because I would have not. I'm pretty introvert. I'm pretty, yeah, not like that. And then there's the media. So the past 5 years has been like balancing
Hmm.
all of that for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And speaking of your Instagram, I remember a friend shared your post with me. And I'm not even sure why. Ooh, I don't even remember who it was. And I don't remember why. And she was like, oh my God, look at this story. And I remember reading your post and your writing, and that's it is absolutely beautiful. You're one of the best writer that I know, like no kidding. The way you were sharing this while being in the deep, like in the moment, was so beautiful and heartbreaking at the same time. And I think this is why so many people really rallied like behind you for you, because whatever you were sharing, everything you were sharing was so profound and heartbreaking and beautiful at the same time. Like it was a mix of all of this, and it kind of like, yeah, like bring all of us together to be like, this is a real life tragedy of a young person losing their most important person. And it's like we all feel that, and we were all kind of like heartbroken for you. And so I think this is why this community, the Instagram, like your post went viral, and then we people were like sharing and commenting and talking about it, because it felt very real and very deep and very sad. So yeah, can you talk about like how sharing your story on Instagram, sharing those posts, did that help with the grief? I know that you said in the beginning it was mostly to share dates, but then did you find a type of healing in writing and talking about Colby?
Yeah, I think writing was a huge form of my therapy
Mm.
for a few reasons. I think I wanted the truth out there from the person that was like closest to Colby. So I wanted like some of the factual stuff that I was writing to be well known. But for the emotional and the grief journey, I it was just very therapeutic for me to write and get it out there and then have people be like, I felt the same, or I couldn't put words to this. Like, thank you for putting words to that. And I wasn't doing for like the words of affirmation back,
Mm-hmm.
but that's not why I was doing it. But when I did receive it back, it did make me feel less alone. I do think there's a lot of power in writing and being
Mm-hmm.
creative and how people choose to express things. I've always, I would say, been more into like writing, or like I would rather, if I'm having like an intense conversation or in a situation, I would rather write it than say it. And maybe that's like the introvert in me, but I get anxious. I go more quiet. I don't know how to like articulate my words as much.
Mm-hmm.
However, when I'm writing, I feel like I can like get it all out as much as you can, especially in that type of situation. So I really kind of leaned into that. And when Colby's nickname for me was his little world changer. And when he was in the hospital and in brain surgery, I like vowed to him, and still to this day, like I would do everything that I could to continue to share our story and be his little world changer. So
Mm-hmm.
I think that was always and has always been the motivation still to this day to
Yeah.
continue to share my story, and whether that's the good, the bad, the ugly, and just be open about that, because one, Colby deserves it. I never want Colby to feel forgotten, and two, I think, as you've said, it's created such like a healing community.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I do find a lot of power in being creative, and I know people do it in different ways, but for me
Yeah.
it was always writing.
Yeah. Were you writing before that? Like, have you always been kind of like, yeah, writing, journaling,
I was never a journaling. I never did journaling, but I do feel like, yeah, I would write, like I'd write things, or I would write and do speeches. Like in school, you have to like do speeches or all that type of stuff. That was definitely more my like forte. I'd never thought it would be on this like international worldwide level
Right.
and under a microscope. But yes, I always felt like there was a lot of power in words. And I think that's why words are so, so important to me to this day.
Yeah.
being like mindful what you say, mindful how you express things, or lack of, right?
Mm.
Like
Yeah,
people either, yeah, if you have no words, then that speaks a lot too, right? So
exactly.
I think obviously not everyone loves writing or has different creative talents,
Mhm.
but yeah, I do feel like there's a lot of power in your words or lack of words.
Yes. And the thing you were saying about Colby saying that you were his little word changer, and then writing for you first, but then because you do it for you, because you need to express yourself, it's also helping others. And it's like, for me, this is also the power of photography, creativity in general, writing, painting is like first you do it for you, but then when you put it out there and people most of the time underestimate the power of sharing and putting out there, you actually help someone else because there would be someone out there who would say, oh my God, I have been feeling this, but I didn't have the words. Or this photo made me feel something that I could not express. Or this painting, the colors are really like, inspiring me. So I think with your story and your writing, I think people really love that you were doing this for you. You were doing this to, like, heal and grieve, but then you met people who were like, oh my God, I felt so unseen. I felt so alone because I couldn't put words, but now those words are like speaking to me. So I think there is really a beautiful, yeah, it's a form of creative expression that is helping
Mhm.
through grief. And writing, movement, for me, like dancing is also a form of, yeah, way of moving through things.
No, I feel like just as you were talking, I feel like today in particular, like people are so scared to like express themselves in whatever way that is, whether that is like by words, whether by like photography or dancing or writing. People are so scared. So I think it's really powerful and important when a lot of people are like authentically creative
Hmm.
and open that window for people, because some people don't feel like comfortable doing that without like seeing other people do it, or
Yes.
feel like unseen. And I feel like, yeah, there's a lot of power in remaining authentic and not just like following the norm, or like, because I mean being creative and being authentic for
Hmm.
sure comes with like some downfalls
Oh yeah.
at times. And I think people are more nowadays afraid of the downfalls and like trying to protect themselves and trying to like be worried than they are of like just being open and authentic and vulnerable and expressing themselves. And the people that like appreciate that, whether that's your photography or your dancing or your writing or your singing, they're going to support you. The people that don't aren't.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. And I remember you talk a lot about the way to grieve. There is no one way to grieve. And because like you said, you were criticized or you had some haters who were like, "Oh, you should not do this, blah blah blah." Yeah, let's talk about I guess the downfall, the negative aspect of maybe social media and sharing your story, which brings, of course, I hope it would not bring that, but the aspect of like people not agreeing with what you're doing or the way you are doing it. And instead of like being like, oh, okay, she's doing that this way, while I don't really agree, but this is her way of doing it, people are really like sometimes so intense about like, no, this is not the way you're doing that, you should not be doing this way, or you should not do this as a widow, or blah blah blah. I remember for me when I started doing wedding photography, I would take photos of like details, like the shoes, like the bride's shoes were dirty because she has been dancing. And I was blogging at the time. It's like the old times of blogging. And I would post that photo because for me it was part of the day. Like, it's like, I'm sorry, but wedding dresses get dirty. Like,
Mhm.
sorry to like break your like dreamy like, idea, but it's like,
Starting in like the first 5 minutes.
exactly. Yeah. So I share this photo and someone commented commented, why are you taking photos of like dirty shoes? And it's like, but it was like 2009, and like nobody was doing like, I mean, in France, nobody was doing like lifestyle photography, like documentary wedding photography. So it was like, it was only just portraits, and very posed and very stiff. And it's like, but no, we're trying to show the entire day. Anyway, so now people are used to seeing that the details, like the behind the scenes, the documentary, the not so glamorous detail of a wedding or an event. And but I remember being criticized for showing this, and I was like, who are you, the wedding photography like law, like do you, who put those rules? So can you talk about like, yeah, the fact that people were telling you how to grieve and how to be a widow? It's like, why?
Feel like there is a lot of professional widows out there. Even though they still have their spouse and they've never been a widow. I feel like so many people, yeah, think that they know what is best and what they would do in any situation, whether that's widowhood or whatever it may be. Kind of again, everyone's like very strong on their opinions. And in the beginning, it was rough. I think I would take, I think because I was so fresh and it was under a microscope and I kind of was winging it. I didn't know what I was doing. Like, there's no textbook for this. I took every comment really personal, like,
Right.
as like kind of like a feedback when I
Mm-hmm.
shouldn't have been taking it as feedback. Being like, well, maybe I'm not doing this right. Maybe Colby isn't proud. Maybe I am a bad widow. Maybe I am. And I mean, you're 26. You're trying to figure it all out. I would say now I'm definitely better with it in some ways. There's other ways that I definitely still struggle with it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I would rather remain authentic and showing my journey, because at the end of the day, when whatever you believe in or whatever your faith is or your religion, like for me, like when I get to heaven, I don't want to have regrets that like I didn't keep my vow to Colby, or that I wasn't as authentic that could have helped someone. And I think it took a while. Like I said, it's almost been 5 years to get that
Mm-hmm.
flip
Yep.
switch, because in the beginning, I took everything as feedback because it was so new. I didn't know what
Yep.
I was doing. I was under this microscope. So I was like, I must be doing this wrong. I must change this. I must do that.
Yes.
Um, where now I don't, you kind of learn to get tough skin. I hate saying that, because you shouldn't have to get tough skin. Like, you shouldn't have to like fluff off the comments. Like, people
Yes.
should just be more kind, or realize that, like, as you're saying, for you, like, who are you, like the wedding photography police? Like, just kind of like, yeah, kind of stay in your own lane, or just be glad. I always say, like, be glad you don't understand young widowhood. Be glad you don't understand the magnitude of my grief every single day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I definitely, like, I mean, last night I got this like crazy comment on TikTok, and I was just like, okay. Like, those things I can kind of like laugh off now,
Yeah.
but I think the ones when they're personal or people close to me, I think I definitely struggle with more.
Yeah, which I think is absolutely normal because, people have their opinion. But I mean, I love being a softie. I just saw a picture of someone and it says softies. And I'm like, don't want to be, I
Mhm.
don't want to become like a mean person or a jaded person. Like, I love being kind and seeing the good in people, even if sometimes they do show me that, there's not always good in people. But yeah, I want to go back to the idea of, because you talk about that in your book, and I also want to talk about like your book, but like the joy and the grief coexisting, and how to navigate, because after 5 years it's like, okay, you move on, you have, your life changes. So can you talk about what are the lessons that you've learned, and how did you try to find your joy back after losing Colby?
Mhm. I feel like in the beginning, and I think too, maybe because it was a COVID death, a lot of things were delayed, which made things even more trickier. Like, for an example, this past week, I went back to Bakersfield for the first time, and Colby spent his last few days alive there. We flew out of Bakersfield on April 2nd, so, well, today,
Yeah.
5 years ago today, and
Oh my
he
God.
was in emergency brain surgery the morning of April 7th. So, like, last few days are in Baco. His last hockey game, his last goal that I watched, which, I mean, for years I'd watched him fulfill his dream. And I went back for the first time because of restrictions and life and the way it worked out, like, last week. So that's a
Mhm.
first. So I think for me that makes the joy and grief really tricky at times, where I think people that maybe didn't experience a COVID death,
Mhm.
I think it's just different because they go through things right away. The funerals, the seeing people, all that,
Yes.
where, I mean, I've still not seen people that we played with for years because
Right.
of COVID and the way life has played out. So
Hmm.
I think that has been difficult for sure, where I think people like are like, it's 5 years. Why would it be emotional going back to Baco for the first time? And it's like, I haven't been back yet. Like,
Yeah.
I haven't had this like happen right away, then people
Yeah.
would be more understanding. But yeah, so I think that's hard. I think there was a shift moment, and I can't pinpoint it. And I talk about this in the book, where it was kind of being like, I mean, I refused when he passed away, I refused to like stay in bed every day as much as I could, as much as I wanted to. And don't get me wrong, there was a few days, but I think Chester was a real blessing in that, of like getting me outside. And I always had something, like whether
Hmm.
that was a game or an interview or something with a memorial fund. But I think for me, there was it was slow. I was slowly changing and coming to this pivotal moment of where being like, I need to like live my life because that's what Colby would want. And I always knew that. I always knew
Right.
Colby would want me to live my life, that Colby would want me to be happy, that Colby would eventually want me to like find someone else again. But when you're so in the thick of it, you don't want to hear that.
No.
So you don't ever tell anyone that, because they're
Absolutely.
like, screw off.
Yeah.
And they have to want it and like find it, I think,
Hmm.
for themselves.
Yeah.
Um, where for me, I had to like come to the point myself, no matter how many times people told me Colby would want me to be happy, I had to like come to
Yeah.
that myself.
Of
And
course.
yeah,
Yeah.
I don't remember the exact day. I remember the slow transition of being like, he would want me to be happy and I need to like start living that way. In saying that, I think although death and grief are part of everyone's life, I don't think, unless you have been through grief before on whatever
Hmm.
level, for me, obviously mine was very traumatic. Your body holds that grief and like never forgets that grief.
Yes.
Um, yeah, I think the subconsciously, like,
Hmm.
I woke up yesterday and I was like, ugh, it's April. And I could like feel it. And I think that's like grief, not actively like, you're not like actively going out there being like, I
Hmm.
purposely be sad today. But the beauty in grief, I choose to like look at it as the beauty is like feeling those heavy days or hearing that song or tearing up, like
Yes.
remind me how much love I still have for Colby and how
Yeah.
much like I will always love him and how much I miss him.
Hmm.
Where, yeah, I think unless you've been through grief, a lot of people, that's hard for people to understand.
Yeah. And I think it goes back to this idea of you are the only one living this,
Mhm.
experiencing this. So we need to give people grace for going through their own journey. And I think a lot of people are trying to project their own opinions, way of living, and things like that on other people. But I think your story also teaches people that you cannot tell another person how to grieve when they are ready to go to move on, when they are ready, when it's time. It's like, okay, 1 year after, you gotta, that's it, you've done the widowhood. So it's like, no, everyone is different, and it goes back to authenticity, being vulnerable. And this is something that, it's, of course, we're talking about grief, but I see it also in, like, with my clients, with my friend. It's like we all have such a unique experience and journey, and it's we cannot just keep going on telling people, well, this is the box for grieving, this is the box for being an entrepreneur, this is the box for, being a photographer, and you do the things in the box and that's it. And it's like, no, we need to really embrace everyone's journey. Everyone is different, everyone is unique, and this is the beauty in it. This is how we learn. It's like I learned so much from you just by reading your posts, listening to you, and it's like I've learned about widowhood and all the things about yeah, grief and how to express your grief and how to deal with it. So it's like I want people to really see the wisdom in looking at someone else's journey and and saying and thinking, oh my god, I actually have no idea
Mm-hmm.
how you're doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And instead of judging and instead of saying, well, I would not do it like this, looking at it and think, oh wow, this is fascinating, this is very interesting, I am learning something from this. So um yeah, I for me this is again going back to being authentic and being real and sharing the real.
It's
Yeah,
so interesting to me because, yeah, it would be like a non-photographer walking into your studio and was like, I think you should actually do this angle, or
yeah.
like, I think you should do like it's so, and I know you like get that on,
I do get that.
like just people are so ballsy.
Yes, they are.
Like
Yeah,
I could never imagine going into like, and I don't even know. Like, can you imagine going into like a school and like
yeah,
telling a teacher, or going to a bank and like telling a teacher? Like, I don't know why people today feel so entitled to other people's lives and other people's experiences and other people's like creativity or the
yes,
way that they like express themselves. It just like,
yeah. It's a lot. I think this is my take on it. I think people, it's actually a them problem.
mhm.
I think people see how you do it, how you express yourself, what you're doing, and it's actually making them think of their own creativity or grief journey or, life in general. And I think every time someone is like sharing those things or saying things about the way we should do things or not, I'm always like, oh, why are they saying this? Is this about me or is this about them? And most of the time it's about them. I remember when I moved to Edmonton in 2017. So I used to be a wedding photographer, and then I was moving to portraits because I was done with weddings and I wanted to be on one with people doing portraits. So I started talking about it and be like, yeah, I'm going to do portraits, I'm moving on from weddings. And the first thing everyone, not everyone, but a lot of people told me is like, oh, wow, weddings is the only business, like photography industry, where you actually make money. Otherwise, you have to photograph newborns and families. This is the only way you are going to make money and have a sustainable business. And I was like, okay. And I'm like I don't love confrontation, so I never go. I was like, okay, interesting, yeah, sure. But in my head, I'm like, no, I don't want to do that. And and I knew that portrait and at the time branding was not even a thing. But after that, branding photography completely like exploded. No, everyone needs branding. Social media got so big that everyone wants photos. So I knew that there was something more, and I didn't want to listen to people because I knew that I was going to do my thing, and my thing was portraits. I didn't know at the time yet that branding photography was going to be my thing, but I knew that I wanted to work on one with people. And so it's always very funny to me when people are kind of like, this is how you do things, this is the only way. And I always have this like little that this thought of like, well, let me prove you wrong.
Yes, yes, I get that.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, did you have any situation like that where you were like, you knew that it was not, like, I don't know, the right thing for you, and you were like, hold on, I'm going to sit on this. And listen to my gut.
think there was one time, there was a few times, but I think one time in particular, there was, I'm very protective over Colby. I'm very protective over Colby. I'm very protective over our story, and like rightfully so. And I think, there was one time where this producer that works with like Netflix reached out and I don't even think it was the 2 year mark. And kind of told me, he wanted to work. He was just very like forceful and was like, I want to do this story, but we would have to do it this way. Like, he didn't want the faith aspect in it because he was like, Christian films don't make as much on Netflix as non-Christian films, or he, didn't want certain people knowing because he didn't want like the wing it, like them to get a hold of it and run with it another way. And obviously I didn't like pursue that route because it didn't feel right to me. And then I think that's when kind of, I even that much more was like, I need to do a book. Like, I need to make sure that this gets out here the way that it's supposed to get out here, because Instagram's only is like little pieces, right? But that's one that does come to mind, obviously on like a bigger scale of,
Right.
yeah, here was this like Netflix producer that wanted my story but
Right.
didn't want to fully share my story or like edit my story. And I was like, no,
No.
you
What?
don't get to do that.
Exactly.
So yeah, that would be one. I think, I mean, everyone always has opinions of what I'm posting, what I'm not posting, or what I should be posting for sure. But I would say that one in particular, I was like, no, I'm staying true to me and like Colby, and like I am not altering our story. And like if our story isn't good enough in your eyes
Right.
for whatever, like, yeah, I'm not changing that for you. Like, so I would definitely say I'm very protective. And even, with his memorial funds, like,
Hmm.
I that's his legacy and that's his name, and I still to this day will like check his name to make sure like nothing comes up, or
Yeah.
like I'm very careful because um yeah, I don't like people using or like benefiting off of like
No,
my
and
trauma. Really.
absolutely. And it's kind of not, I mean, it's lacking integrity also. It's like, what do you mean you're going to like use my story to make like a Netflix film, a documentary, but you're like going to like, take some parts out because you don't like that? This is so not okay. It's like, yeah, and you were talking about your book, so let's talk about like the creative process of like writing the book. Why did you decide to write a book? Like, obviously you wanted to tell your story from your perspective. Yeah, can you take us through the creative process with the book?
Yeah, I think it really, people always ask me, like, how long did it take you to write? Or how long, like, what was your book process like? And mine was a unique situation. I think there was some good that came out of it, and obviously some, I don't want to say bad because everything that came out of the book is positive. But some things, maybe looking back, I would have done differently.
Hmm.
I definitely would have probably not done the self publishing route and worked with the company that I worked with. But, at the end of the day, a book got out there that has helped to
Yes.
change so many lives. And for that, I'm forever grateful. But I think for me, like when I decided, I'm like, when this opportunity came forward to write this book,
Hmm.
a lot of it because I had been so open on Instagram from the day he was in brain surgery. So, like April 7th up until the day they approached me,
Hmm.
everything had been documented.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, obviously there were some details that I talk about in the book that were not documented on social media, but it was pretty, I went and I pulled every single post and I kind of made like a puzzle of that, or like expanded on it, or added in the details that like obviously wasn't on socials.
Hmm.
So the actual like writing process didn't take that long.
Right.
The editing process, I think that did unfortunately fall a little bit on the company, but at the end of the day, I'm grateful it still got out. I also wanted the book, originally when I was looking at self-publishing compared to going with a bigger company, pros and cons in both. If I did it again, I'd definitely go with a bigger publishing company. but I wanted the story to come from me. And maybe that was because of what happened with like the Netflix producer
Right.
or all of that. But I wanted the book, like, I know that people have caught up on like some spelling mistakes or some like little things like that. But I wanted the book to be like something that someone grabbed and it was
Yeah,
like we were having a conversation. Like
absolutely.
it didn't have to be like a dictionary, proper
Yes.
grammar, like I just wanted it super authentic,
Yes. It's not a fiction.
the way it was,
Yeah.
not like cookie cutter, like
Mhm.
every other thing. And a lot of people have appreciated that. And I would rather that than probably like for that type of book because it was such a personal story, I would rather that be
Right.
just authentic as if we were kind of having this conversation now.
Exactly.
Um, yeah, the book writing process was definitely a lot, and I think reliving a lot of stuff was a
Yes.
lot. My parents like were so amazing and helped me like fill in points that obviously I like didn't remember just because of trauma and grief and shock. But yeah, writing a book isn't easy. And
Yes.
writing a book on the topic that I was writing on was not easy. It wasn't like just writing an Instagram post. So yeah, I would definitely, people always ask like, would you write another book? Would you
Yeah, I was going to ask you that.
I don't know. I Some days I'm like, yes. And then other days I'm like, not. I'm What I'll answer is not, it's not a hard no.
Right.
It's if I feel I don't want to just like write a book to write a book. Like I want to make sure if I am writing a book that it is authentic to how I'm feeling. And I think where I am in with my life now and with certain people in my life, I think maybe being authentic about things probably wouldn't be great. So yeah, I think it's like keeping in mind I never want to just like write to write, whether that's a book, whether that's an Instagram. Like people tell me all the time, like you should post more, and it's like I don't want to like wake up and feel pressured to post. Like I
Yeah,
want to like post when I feel like it, and I want to write when I feel like it. So
exactly.
I definitely think I would write another book. It would just have to be one, probably definitely with another company, and two, when I feel like I'm like, okay, I can do it. Like, not that I can't do it now, but I want it to
Yeah,
be authentic and yeah,
authentic.
not forced.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's like bringing the topic of like the balance between, sharing your life on social media publicly, and then there's certain things that we are living privately, personally, that we don't want to put out there. And I think the finding the fine balance, and I feel like that sometimes, like I have certain things that I want to talk about, but also I can't just go on Instagram and post about, because there is other people in my life that deserve privacy, or like certain topics that are sensitive, and I'm not, if I'm in it, it's really hard to just have the distance and the detachment to like really go on there and talk about it. So I feel like it's very beautiful that you are respecting this time of, well, I'm in the drama, I'm in the tragic, and I'm sharing it, and now it's like, but maybe I'm also giving myself space and grace for the thing that I'm going through right now don't necessarily need to be on social media. And I think it's totally fair. I used to be very like sharing everything and being vulnerable, which is also served me because people love to connect with you. But I also think that there are things that need more time to process and evolve, and then when you're ready to talk about it, you'll talk about it. So, and when the book is ready to be written, you know what I mean. It's like I feel like that too with certain projects, with like creative project. It's like I want to do everything now, and I want to, yeah, I'm going to do this, and I have a lot of energy and I want to do a lot of things, but sometimes the timing is not right, and I can feel like it's like there's other things, holding me down. So it's like, okay, let's take a time and to breathe, and yeah, and be mindful of like not everything needs to be on social media. So
I think me and you are a lot like the same too, and I think a lot of creativity People are the same in a sense
Yeah.
of like when we get excited and super passionate about something, we want it like right now. Like we want to do it right now. We want it out there right now. Like
Yes.
we want to get it done. We're the doers. Like
Yes.
I feel like creative people are totally the doers. And I think for me it's been, which is bittersweet, I'm going
Hmm.
to be honest, because I think there is times that I still want to be doing or I still want to be creative, but I'm now having to be a little bit more reserved. Where, yeah, I think for us, it kind of feels like, I don't know about you, but when you want to do all these things and you're so excited and you're a doer and you want to get it done, and because of things behind the scenes or whatever, and you know you can't, it kind of feels like your wings are being clipped a little bit
Yes.
or like you're being silenced a little bit. And you know, probably for the long term, it's best.
It
But
is.
like the creativity in us just like
Yeah.
needs to get out.
Yes.
And I think that's such like a blessing and like quote unquote curse about being very creative and very vocal and very
Right.
artsy and like the
Yeah.
doer personality and very like in tune to emotions and
Yes.
all of that.
Hmm.
Which, yeah, is such a blessing, but at times it's like,
I know. But I also believe that not everything, we can be creative without being public. Like you can write all you want and have tons of journals. I have like pictures that I've taken that nobody has seen. And it doesn't take away from the creation, from
mhm,
the art or the emotion, because it's not shown to the public. It's actually as worthy as something that is like on social media, on my website. Maybe it was just for me. And I think there is, because now everything is public, we are all like, we all have personal brands, and we are all kind of like public figures in a certain way. Like I think we think that we owe maybe the public all of our things, all of our ideas and thoughts and emotions and feelings, when actually no, it's okay to also take a step back and keeping certain things for ourselves, or having certain projects taking more time. And when it's time to come to the public or come to life, it's okay, like it's perfect timing. So I'm always reminding myself about that I don't have to do all the things, but
yeah, I like the way that you said that it doesn't take away like what you're doing behind the scenes. It doesn't take
yes.
away or doesn't make it feel less beautiful or
Hmm.
amazing or incredible or important what you're working at, as even if it's like not out there and it's like just for you.
Yes.
Where I think like a lot of people, and I know for you too, being on social media and like me being on social media, are people that are just like more public, is yeah, you kind of feel like you have to like share
Yes.
that, right? Or like, yeah, you should post this one too, or you feel like you owe it to people. Where I like what you're saying is like we don't owe
No.
it to people. Obviously,
Yeah.
there's like a blessing in sharing, and we've talked about that. But yeah, I think finding the balance and remembering when you're not sharing your
Yes.
creativity, whatever it is, that like it's still important.
Yeah. And you're still living your life. You still have to live your life outside of, yeah, social media. This is a good transition to, I want to talk about your advice to people who are grieving and feel disconnected to their creative self or their own even sense of self. Because let's be honest, grief is really, it's such a bombshell. I don't even know. It's like, what?
Also, the appropriate word, but you get what I'm saying. Yeah.
Yeah. So, what would you tell someone who is grieving and feel like they're not being themselves? Like, how do they reconnect with themselves?
That's a tricky one. I feel like everyone, because everyone's grief is so different, everyone needs things in a different way. I think for me, my form of, there's like two things I would say. One is like, have some form of self care or yeah, something that you still do for yourself, even though that you did when your loved one was still alive. Where I think, for me as a young widow, I freaking stopped showering. I like would not like care what I look like because I was like, I have no one to like look good for. Where I remember still like, painting my nails or like having a shower or something like that does go a long way, especially when you're in the beginning of grief. I think it's so important um, to still do something for you, even though you don't want to. Like I didn't care to look beautiful again. I didn't feel beautiful. I felt broken. I didn't like care, but like doing like a little thing like showering or
Hmm.
walking to get a coffee or like painting your nails or
Yes.
like putting makeup on or getting dressed out of PJs. Like those little things will build up and become the big thing. So I would definitely say that. And then two, I think as another outlet is like for me, my outlet was writing. Like
Hmm.
just because I'm a creative person, like
Yes.
my outlet was writing and sharing that. If you aren't a creative person as much, maybe your outlet is going for runs. Like you're more into the
Movement.
sporty side and movement. Maybe your outlet is other things. I just think it's important to have healthy outlets because, I mean, even speaking for myself, there's a lot of toxic outlets
Yes.
out there as well that like you kind of are latching onto because I think when you're in grief, especially young widowhood, and for me, like the sudden and the trauma, like you're kind of just grasping at straws. And I think it's really important to still like take your time and really, yeah, I guess kind of do what's good for you. I think to be honest, looking back, something that my therapist said to me was and it's so weird to say, but you should have been more selfish with your grief in the beginning.
Mm.
And I think that was very weird for me to hear. And then now looking back, I'm like, oh, yeah, she's right. Because in the beginning, I was like doing so much for the media. I
Right.
was so worried trying to manage family and friends and all that was going on there. I was so because it's interesting. You're the center, you're the person that's closest
Yes.
to everyone. So technically you should be like getting the most support or like you should it's like a circle. Like they're talking about like circles, and we talk about it in grief. Is like these people should be worried about these people, and these people should be worried about these people as the circle like gets smaller and smaller. Where me, I was like worried about all the other circles, and I was so consumed in so much, and I think that did rob a lot out of me. So there was a time when I looked back and I was like angry because I was like that was taken away from me where I think yeah it's important and it's okay
Hmm.
to be selfish in your grief.
Yes.
Like that seems so weird to say, but it's so true is like be selfish in your grief, whether that is like making sure you're doing self-care, making sure you have a positive outfit, not feeling like you have to manage
Manage
friends
other
and
things.
family and
Yes.
grief or that you have to be this like person because you're on such
Hmm.
high alert.
Yeah.
I would say would be like the most
Hmm.
yeah, the most important thing, which is like weird because when I remember when she said it to me, I was like, that is so rude. Like I was like, that is not like okay. And now looking back, I'm like,
Like,
she was
heck
right.
yes.
Like
Yeah.
I should have like I'm like, that's so mean. Like, why would I be selfish? And then now I'm like, heck yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's a really good advice. And for me, you are always the person who has great hair, great outfits, and great nails. I'm always looking at your nails because they are always painted. Mine are not. I used to paint them all the time. And it's funny because
What's up?
not that I was thinking about this while, you were going through this, but now that you're talking about it, I was like, oh my God, you're right. Like, nails were always great and your hair always looked great. And it's like, and you're right, it sounds selfish and it sounds silly, but at the same time, I can understand, like, okay, but if this is the only little, like,
Look forward
piece
to.
of thing that is like keeping you going, and it's like, I'm going to like take some time to paint my nails because in that moment, this is what's important, this is what is keeping me going.
Mhm.
Why the fuck not? Sorry, I cursing on the like, why not? Why you need to do the things that is like, and maybe doing your hair is really important, and maybe yeah. So like anything that is like maintaining your
sanity.
yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, literally. It's like do that. Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, and you are also the matcha girl for me. You're like great hair, great nails, great outfits, matcha. So yeah, it's the little things sometimes that keep us alive.
And like little things, like weirdly going back to like the nails, is Colby, all like I was like never, so that's like another thing is like this is like kind of a side story, but I was like never like, I hate using the term like bougie before
Mhm.
Colby. Like I was like not anything like that. And Colby was very, incredible with like
Yeah.
gifts and
Yes.
the lifestyle that we lived. He was always encouraging me, like, go get your nails done. Like, I'm
Yeah.
at the rink, like, go get your
Oh,
nails done. And he would like literally, I remember like the last time I went to get my nails done when he was still alive, and he was like, "What color are you gonna do?" I'm like, "What color do you want me to do?" He's like, "Blue." So like I got like blue. Like so then when he passed away, I was like, I have to make sure my nail like it kind of came.
yes.
It was like a double thing, right? Like
Right.
it helped me like remember Colby and like our memories in like a unique way, but also was like Colby always like loved that and like
Yes.
that and like that became like inside joke or whatever. So yeah, it was ironic how I was trying to honor Colby by like making sure my nails looked good, but at the same time it was
For
also
you too.
self-care. So it was
Exactly.
a cool kind of,
It's like
still to this day, I'm like,
yes.
and
I
I
love
always in April, like I always will like paint my nails blue, the color that like he like last like I do like little
little things.
like things like that.
I love that.
But yeah, that would be my
Yeah.
take.
I love that. And actually, you're like the only person that I know. I love blue on your nails, but I would never do it for me. But every time I see your blue nails, I was like, should I do blue? And then I was like, no, that's not. This is an Emily thing. This is not me.
Yeah,
Um,
that's all Cole. Cole was yeah, it was like I literally remember that
yes.
like it was yesterday when he's like,
Ah, that's so cute. Talking about like he was very good with like gifts and stuff like that. There is something that I also always appreciate when you share about him is all the videos and all the photos that you have of him. And I think people underestimate the power and the importance of documenting your goddamn life because for like and not for like fancy events and just like special events like your everyday life like sometimes and I am going to confess I do take sneaky videos of my partner playing with the cat like being so cute because it's like why are we waiting for the big event or the big special occasion to like take a photo of someone and take a video of someone, those memories are going to be so cherished like in the future. So yeah, and so yeah, I just wanted to yeah, I love when you share videos of him because also I never met Colby and I'm like but I feel like I know him now because every time I see him videos of him dancing and laughing, I feel like oh, I know this guy. I know him. So that's so yeah, that's so valuable.
that's my like number one. Probably my two advices is one like on the business side, have a will. We didn't. And number two is take the pictures and the videos. Like I say that all the time because I am so grateful for all the pictures and the videos that I have. And I can't imagine not having them because like human nature, like scientifically like memories, like obviously you remember like the big moments in that, but the everyday little moments you do forget like
Yeah.
that's human, how the
Yes.
brain works over time, where I'm so glad that I have these pictures and the videos to like look back on. So even still to this day I get frustrated when like people are like complaining or like not smiling in photos, or like even when you like ask to take one photo and I'm like, you may regret this one day. And like
Yes.
I hate to like be morbid on like their butts, but I'm like,
No, that's
if
true.
you were to like pass
Yeah.
away, like you are gonna regret not taking the photo, or like you're gonna regret not taking the video. And I think that's like such something I'm so like an advocate about. And I think that's like why I really wanted to like connect with you and like how this friendship all established is
Yes.
I wanted to document every
Yes.
single part of my widow journey so that
Right.
I can look back from the photos that we took from 2020 up until now to be like, look how far she's come.
Yes.
Or you can tell in photos, like getting like the sparkle back, or
Yeah.
look how, like, it is so important. And I think that's goes back to like the power that you do and like give to people is like the ability to like share those moments. Like in the portraits, whether it's for branding or whether it's for personal, to like capture those moments for people is like such a gift to them, because then they have those for the rest of their life, or their loved ones have it for,
Exactly.
yeah,
Yeah.
even after they're gone. So I am like such a like take the photos, take the videos, and if people complain about it, I am like,
Whatever. People can talk.
where yeah, I try and document like as much as, like, even now, like I went before I flew to Bakersfield, I always take a photo or video of Chester
I
before
saw
I
that and I'm like, oh my God, I love this.
where I'm like, because you just like don't know. Like I have my like last photos of like Colby and my last videos of Colby. Yeah, it's just a reminder, like you never know what's gonna happen.
Exactly.
I understand maybe a bit of like when it's like always in someone's face, right? Like when it's like taking away from moments completely
Hmm.
to the far, 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 far extreme. But people also then can't just like use that extreme and be like, no photos and videos at all. Like there has to be like some gray area.
Balance. Yeah. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you can never have enough photos and videos of the people you love, is the way that I look at it.
Yeah. I love that. And I appreciate that you are sharing that because I think people also think, yeah, obviously, if you can hire a professional to capture yourself, your story, absolutely do that. But also, you just do it with your phone and
Mm-hmm.
or buy a cheap camera and take photos with your little camera. So yeah, so I really love when you share all those photos and videos. And I don't know, I'm someone who is, I just love seeing like videos of people having fun and dancing and laughing, and it's like, oh my God, they were, they are so happy, they were having a good time. And it's, yeah, it's even if didn't, I don't know the person, it's like bringing me joy to see those moments. So
I
yeah.
was with someone last week and they said, I never, they're talking to me and my parents, and she was like, I never got to meet Colby. Her husband passed away, so we've met through the widow community. And she was like, but when you see those photos and the videos, you can tell in Colby's smile and his eyes, like how much he loved Emily.
Oh
Like
my God.
you can tell. And
Yes.
I think that was really cool for me to hear, because like it just shows our love even that much more.
Hmm.
Like I can tell stories or I can write about it, but like these pictures and videos like actually bring it to like life.
Yes.
I think that is like really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Okay, we have been talking for a long time, so maybe we will wrap up the episode. I like to ask 3 questions inspired by Monsieur Proust, French author. So he had very, very interesting questions that I'm going to ask. So let's see, where are my questions now? I'm like, where are okay, question number 1: which talent would you most like to have?
Is it this a creative talent or is it just like any talent?
Any talent, but if you want to talk about, if you want to talk about creativity, that's actually a really tough question. Now I'm like, wait, I have so many talents that I would have to have.
Ooh, that's actually a really good question. I'm gonna
Yeah, those questions are pretty deep.
I'm gonna say maybe like, maybe this is just because I'm definitely more like artsy and creative, even though
Hmm.
like I did do like sports here and there growing up. Maybe like you always like want to see if like the grass is greener on this other side. So like
Right.
maybe a little bit more athletic. Like I'm not saying like I completely not athletic, but I always feel like I'm like kind of want to see what like the other side's like. But then I feel like I kind of want to see what the
Yeah.
other side's like. So I think maybe because I'm creative, I would say
Yes.
maybe more of some type of like certain athletic
Yeah.
talent.
Because you
Maybe
do a lot of, you go to Pilates. Yeah.
Pilates is like my go-to.
Yeah.
But like growing up, I did figure skating, like cross
Oh, yeah.
country. Like I definitely could not do cross country anymore.
But you could skate. You can skate. Yeah.
Yeah, I can
Yeah.
skate.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like maybe that.
Okay.
Maybe.
Yeah, I love that. I feel the same. I'm like, I wish it's not really that I feel like my body it could be athletic. It's just I don't have the motivation.
Yeah.
It's just I'm not interested in, weightlifting 5 times a week. And I'm just like,
Props
I'm
to the
good.
people that do.
Follow me?
I said props to the people that do, but that's just not.
It's exactly. So, okay. Question number 2. What do you most value in your friends?
Ooh. I would say Ooh, that's a good question. That's a hard question because I feel like
Mm,
friends during my grief, I really valued the people that checked in, like the people that continue to check in and the people that continue to show up and like, let me be authentic and they can be authentic. I think really comes down to it. I feel like a lot of friendships these days are like very superficial and like level based, where I really appreciate, yeah, my friends that continue to check in on grief wise, are authentic themselves. I just went on a girls trip with one of my hockey friends a few weeks ago, and
yes.
we're not big drinkers. So we didn't drink. We were in bed. We were having hot chocolate by the fire to 3 a.m. Like, I love those type of people where I feel like you can just be yourself, and instead of like walking away and you're like questioning the conversation or questioning where they stand or who's that reported back to.
Right.
So yeah, I'm definitely really fortunate to have like a good group of girls that like through their highs and lows, and definitely my highs and lows because I've definitely had a lot. Yeah, that just have like stayed consistent, authentic, and like checking.
Mhm. Yeah. So by the way, those girl trips where you just kind of like go to coffee shops, eat good food, do a little shopping. My favorite thing to do is like be in the hotel at the hotel in my hotel bed, watching the worst reality TV with like some snacks and like being like in the hotel by like 9 p.m. Like I'm not going out to drink. Like those are the best memories and like chatting with your friend in the hotel room. So, yeah, absolutely. I love that. Okay, last question. What do you consider your greatest achievement?
I would say, looking back, I feel like there's like materialistic treatments that I could like achievements I could say. Like, I feel like most people would be like, oh, it's not the book or oh, it's not this award. I would say continuing to live when all I want to do is die. I think being here today after losing Colby and what I went through will always be my greatest achievement. And I hope, like, when people look at me, that's what they think. I don't think that I never want them to be like, yeah, looking at that, we're being like, wow, this girl has been through so much and still is here to this day. And I hope that gives like other people hope with whatever they're going through, whether it's widowhood or not, to like that you can do it. And I'm not saying that there's like still not hard days by any means, but I would definitely say that.
Beautiful. Yeah, I
Yeah.
love that. Well, thank you so much. I always love talking to you. We always go like super deep, like very like
I know. We're like boof right
just
away.
kind of like going to the deep end. And but I appreciate yeah, I always appreciate the conversations with you. And yes, where can people find you, follow you, and if you have any exciting thing going on, and you have your podcast? So yeah, tell us everything.
I would say the biggest way to get connected would be follow on Instagram. I feel like from there you can kind of be led into the podcast to the book to TikTok, etc. So I definitely say follow on Instagram. And then yeah, I usually have all the other different outlets on there. But yeah, thanks
And
so
you have
much
your
for having me.
Yeah, and you have your podcast. Can you tell us what it's called?
Yes. So my podcast is called You Are More. So kind of a backstory. I used to have long, long time ago a website that I gave people the opportunity to share their stories, whether that was struggles with like mental health or other medical illnesses like childhood cancer or
Hmm.
anything that they may be going through, abuse, etc. And when Colby passed away, I shut down the website just because it was like way too much for me to handle. And I recently brought it back in the way through a podcast. So I have guests come on and, share their stories that they are more than whatever they're going through or their occupation or yeah, so just I think a platform to speak. I was given a platform obviously for the worst possible reason, but I think it's really important to give other people a platform because people feel seen when they feel like heard. So
Yeah,
yeah, I kind of love doing that, and that's been like such a gift to just like hear and share other people's stories. So it's been really cool. But yeah, that's kind
beautiful.
of all I'm doing or trying to be creative. But yeah,
You're doing amazing, and there is so much more coming for you. So I'm excited. Yeah,
and thank you for having me on.
yeah.
Excited to get back to Edmonton and see you soon. Hopefully soon in the next time in
Hopefully,
person.
yes.
Come check
We
it out.
will. We will do another photo shoot, and we will do maybe another podcast episode. So
I
stay
know
tuned, everyone.
I need I need more, but
Yes.
okay.
Okay. Thank you so much. Love you.
Love you.
Bye.